What you are about to hear is more than just a lesson. It's an essential map for forging the life you desire today. I'll unveil the true essence of Solomon's secret, a philosophy I've built over decades dedicated to studying the brightest minds and most influential leaders in the world. Solomon, universally recognized as the wisest man who ever lived, left us an eternal legacy in Proverbs, direct lessons that are true universal laws for achieving success, wealth, and peace. As I examined the monumental triumphs of figures like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and so many other giants, an undeniable truth revealed itself. They, often unknowingly, lived and applied the very same teachings Solomon recorded thousands of years ago. The true secret of their greatness didn't lie in luck or chance, but in profound wisdom, a wisdom capable of organizing the mind, strengthening the will, and most crucially, transforming simple ideas into tangible results. Throughout history, those who have genuinely prospered understood and applied, whether consciously or intuitively, these fundamental laws. My unwavering mission has always been to reveal a liberating truth, that success isn't a whim of chance or the exclusive privilege of a select few. No, success is the direct result of the conscious application of immutable principles that transcend cultural barriers, eras, and religious beliefs. Wisdom is inherently superior to brute force, to fleeting beauty, and even to material wealth itself. Because whoever truly possesses it has the power to build absolutely everything that is truly lasting. In this journey, I'll guide you through the 7 central pillars that emerge from Solomon's Proverbs, showing how each one is intrinsically connected to the philosophy of success I've shared with the world. You'll understand how wisdom transforms into real power, how to discipline your mind for victory, and vitally important, how to avoid common pitfalls that destroy countless dreams. If you commit to applying what you discover here, you'll realize that you don't need to wait for ideal circumstances. You have the power to create, shape, and direct them at your will. This is my personal invitation. Walk with me to the end of this video and discover how the ancient secrets of Solomon, combined with the modern laws of success, can definitively transform your life. And always remember Solomon's exhortation: acquire wisdom, and with all your possessions acquire understanding. Now prepare yourselves. We are about to begin. The 7 pillars of success and abundance. 1. Wisdom, the indispensable foundation of all triumph. Solomon, the greatest sage of antiquity, exhorts us: acquire wisdom, acquire understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. And I emphatically reinforce: no wealth can ever surpass the possession of wisdom. It is the invisible foundation, the silent power that sustains every great human achievement. In my own journey of more than 2 decades researching the principles of success, I arrived at the same irrefutable conclusion as Solomon. Wisdom surpasses gold. It is more valuable than any precious stone, because with it, everything truly enduring is built. Ignorance, in contrast, inevitably leads to ruin, for whoever disregards the eternal principles of life lives at the mercy of chance, like a leaf carried by the wind. Wisdom is not reduced to the mere accumulation of information. It is the ability to discern what is essential and apply it with unwavering decision and courage. This is how Solomon acted when he asked God not for wealth or military power, but for wisdom to govern. And precisely because of this, all else was granted to him. This is the great lesson. Whoever seeks wisdom above all else acquires other things as a natural consequence. I taught the world that thoughts are things, but before a thought can materialize into wealth, it must be qualified by wisdom. Without wisdom, even the boldest thought becomes foolish, imprudent, and dangerous. Wisdom acts as the filter that separates a legitimate desire from a destructive ambition, effective action from impulsive, inconsequential behavior. Solomon advises, the wise will listen and grow in knowledge. Here lies another vital secret. The truly wise person is one who remains humble. who recognizes that there is always more to learn, who listens intently before speaking, and who weighs things carefully before acting. The men I studied, Edison, Carnegie, Ford, were precisely like this, eternal learners, always seeking to broaden their vision. How can you apply this in your practical life? First, abandon the arrogance of thinking you already know enough. Establish the habit of daily reading not as a distraction, but as a sacred discipline. Second, seek mentors, men and women who have already walked the path you wish to follow. And finally, practice self-reflection. Examine your thoughts, your plans, your decisions under the crystal clear light of wisdom. Solomon warned, "A fool immediately displays his anger, but a prudent person overlooks an insult. Here lies one of the greatest expressions of wisdom, emotional control. The wise person doesn't react on impulse, they choose their battles, conserving their energy for what truly matters." This is one of the core pillars of the philosophy of success, self-mastery before attempting to master anything or anyone else. Today, in a world saturated with incessant noise, uncontrolled opinions and hasty decisions, wisdom has become more necessary than ever. The wise person preserves their inner peace, protects their mind from destructive influences, and keeps their unwavering focus on their defined purpose, while fools get lost in ephemeral distractions. Now I ask you, have you sought wisdom as your greatest heritage? Or have you squandered your energy chasing fleeting things that won't stand the test of time? Remember, happy is the man who finds wisdom. Let it be your supreme goal. For with it, you will conquer not only material riches, but the most precious of all, inner peace and self-mastery. 2. Discipline, the force that builds destinies. Solomon taught, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one who controls their spirit than one who takes a city." And I vehemently reiterate, without discipline, even the greatest talents are wasted. Discipline is the invisible force, the steel thread that sustains the vast edifice of success. Without it, no defined purpose, no matter how noble, will ever materialize. In all my research into the most extraordinary men in history, I realized that the common denominator among them was not necessarily genius or even luck. It was the iron discipline with which they managed their habits, their thoughts, their time, and their energy. Henry Ford transformed the world not only with his vision of the automobile, but with meticulous discipline in organizing processes, in continuous improvement, and in tireless persistence. Solomon, by saying that one who governs himself is superior to a conqueror of cities, reveals an eternal principle. The greatest battlefield is one's own mind. The undisciplined person drifts aimlessly, surrendering to impulses, emotions, and circumstances. The disciplined person, however, is a master of their own destiny. They do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. In my philosophy, I made it clear that self-discipline is the foundation of all triumph. It is the element that transforms ardent desire into concrete realization, that sustains faith when the path seems uncertain, that fuels persistence even in the face of temporary setbacks. How can you cultivate this discipline in practical life? Firstly, by recognizing that it is not an innate gift, but a skill that is cultivated. Just as an athlete trains daily to strengthen muscles, the person who seeks success trains their mind and emotions, sets small daily challenges, waking up at the scheduled time, keeping your word, avoiding impulsive responses. Solomon wrote, "Whoever is slack in their work is a brother to him who destroys." Every time you postpone an important task, give in to procrastination, or exchange what's necessary for what's comfortable, you waste the most precious asset you possess, time. The disciplined person, on the other hand, knows that time is their main capital and invests it intelligently, eliminating distractions and focusing on what truly drives their vision. Here's a classic example. Thomas Edison conducted thousands of experiments before finally creating the electric light bulb. Many saw this as failure. And he too saw it as discipline. Each attempt was a necessary step, each error an indispensable adjustment on the path to victory. So too must you perceive. Discipline transforms apparent failures into inevitable stepping stones toward success. Solomon also reminds us, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise." Look how nature teaches us. The ant needs no orders to do its work. It simply does it. It does not question, does not postpone, does not procrastinate. It fulfills its role day after day until the harvest is secured. So it must be for one who seeks success, disciplined, diligent, committed to their mission, regardless of immediate applause or rewards. In modern times, where distractions are abundant and temptations to scatter one's focus are constant, discipline has become an invaluable competitive advantage. Whoever masters their attention, whoever persists in their positive habits, whoever refuses to be a victim of external urgencies is automatically ahead of most others. Therefore, I ask, do you govern your time, or are you governed by it? Do you determine your habits, or do you let inherited and unconscious habits determine your destiny? Remember, discipline is not a prison, but the key that unlocks the doors to true freedom. It is what allows you to become master of yourself, to transform dreams into goals, goals into plans, and plans into tangible results. At the end of this reflection, understand, victory does not belong to the strongest, the fastest, or the most intelligent. It belongs to the most disciplined, the one who, as Solomon taught, is patient, controls their spirit, and perseveres silently and consistently until success is no longer a possibility, but an inevitable certainty. Now, look at your life and answer. Are you acting like an undisciplined warrior who conquers a city only to lose it later, or like a wise strategist who masters themselves and is therefore invincible? 3. Prudence, the wise person's protective shield. Solomon wrote, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." Thus, he taught an essential principle that I also identified in every biography of successful individuals. Prudence is an indispensable virtue for anyone who wants to succeed. It is the shield that protects the individual from hidden dangers and the pitfalls of self-sabotage. For years, I observed that many failed, not due to a lack of talent or resources, but due to a lack of prudence. They rush into businesses without assessing the risks. They trust people without knowing their character. They make decisions driven by emotion or haste. Imprudence is one of the silent causes of financial and personal failure. The prudent person, on the other hand, acts with strategic intelligence. They analyze, reflect, and foresee. Solomon made it clear, "The plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes to poverty." Haste, the offspring of imprudence, leads to poverty. Diligence guided by prudence leads to abundance. This is an immutable law. The prudent person does not confuse speed with efficiency. They know that not every opportunity should be seized, nor every proposal accepted. In my philosophy, I taught the principle of decision. Making decisions is vital, but only after carefully analyzing the facts. Prudence does not paralyze. Rather, it guides. It is the ability to weigh pros and cons, to consult wise counselors, to evaluate consequences before acting. Solomon reinforces, "In a multitude of counselors there is safety." The prudent person does not rely solely on their own perspective. They seek multiple viewpoints, validate their ideas, and test hypotheses. This is how the greats I studied proceeded. Carnegie surrounded himself with wise men. Ford listened to engineers and technicians. Edison tested every idea thousands of times before launching it into the world. A lack of prudence also manifests itself in words. How many destroy careers, businesses, and relationships by speaking without thinking? Solomon warns, "A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back." Here is another sign of prudence: verbal self-control. The prudent person measures their words, understands the weight they carry, avoids promising what they cannot fulfill, and prefers to act more than to speak. In practical life, how can you develop this virtue? First, By cultivating the habit of pausing and reflecting before any important decision, ask yourselves, what will be the impact of this in a year, in 5 years? Second, by seeking advice from those who have already traveled the path you wish to follow. Third, by practicing strategic silence. Not every thought needs to be expressed, nor every intention revealed. Prudence is not cowardice. It doesn't mean avoiding risks, but taking them intelligently. The prudent person doesn't flee from challenges, but calculates the best ways to face them, minimizing losses and maximizing gains. Just as the general who studies the terrain, the enemy, and resources before deploying troops, you too must prepare before every move. Solomon warns us, whoever loves danger will perish by it. The imprudent person confuses audacity with recklessness, seeks adventure without planning, acts driven by blind enthusiasm, and then laments the results. The prudent person, on the contrary, advances with firmness, but always attentive to warning signs. In times of information overload and increasingly rapid decisions, prudence has become an invaluable competitive advantage. While many act without thinking, the prudent person gains ground and respect, builds a solid reputation, and avoids errors that could jeopardize years of work. And you? Have you been prudent or impulsive? Have you reflected before acting, or have you let emotions guide your decisions? Remember, sustainable success is not built on impulses, but on prudent decisions aligned with a defined purpose and anchored in wisdom. Therefore, practice prudence daily. Before accepting a proposal, entering a new project, or forming a partnership, ask, is this aligned with my values and goals? What are the risks? Am I prepared? The prudent person is not seduced by the appearance of opportunities. They seek substance, the truth behind appearances. I conclude this topic with Solomon's exhortation. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. That is, the wise and prudent person always seeks the right path, even if it's more difficult. The foolish and imprudent person chooses the easier, more seductive path, and inevitably reaps the bitter fruits of their choice. Now I ask you, are you willing to cultivate prudence, to think before you act, to protect yourself against unnecessary risks? Or will you continue to leave your life to chance and imprudence? Remember, prudence is the virtue that preserves a person from disaster and silently leads them to victory. 4. The power of the word, creating conscious realities. Solomon taught, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Thus, he revealed a principle that centuries later I identified as one of the most powerful laws of success: autosuggestion. The words you utter, consciously or unconsciously, shape your reality. They create or destroy, build or ruin, bring success closer or push it away definitively. Throughout my research, I understood that the most successful individuals spoke with unwavering conviction, using words that affirmed their competence, their vision, their capability. They never verbalized doubt or defeat. Edison didn't say, "Maybe I'll be able to create the electric lamp." He declared, even after thousands of failed attempts, "I discovered one more way that doesn't work." His words were an expression of his indomitable faith. Solomon warns, "A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back." Imprudent words have the power to destroy in seconds what took years to build. Therefore, I affirm, the first mastery you must acquire is over your language. Not just the words you direct to others, but primarily those you direct to yourself in the silence of your mind. Every time you tell yourself, "I can't," you are planting a seed that will inevitably bear the fruit of failure. But when you affirm, "I am capable," even if you don't yet see the results, you are aligning your subconscious to create the conditions that will transform that affirmation into reality. Solomon also reminds us, "Whoever guards his mouth preserves his life, but he who opens wide his lips comes to ruin." Herein lies the importance of strategic silence. Not every intention needs to be announced, nor every plan divulged. Hasty words can attract opponents, stir envy, or worse yet, compromise your own confidence. The wise men I studied, Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, were masters at speaking only what was necessary while quietly working on their grand purposes. In practice, how can you use the power of the word to your advantage? Firstly, by cultivating the habit of positive affirmation. Begin and end your day by speaking with conviction words that reinforce your purpose, your strength, and your vision for the future. Replace phrases like, "I can't," "I'm not capable," or "It's impossible" with "I am capable," "I find solutions," and "Success is inevitable." Secondly, practice active listening. Before speaking, listen deeply. Often, opportune silence is worth more than 1,000 hasty words. Solomon teaches, "Even a fool, when he keeps silent, is counted wise." One who masters the art of speaking little but with impact automatically stands out, because every word they utter carries weight and purpose. Thirdly, be consistent between word and action. There is no power in empty words. The power of language lies in its alignment with consistent attitudes. Great leaders are remembered not only for what they said, but because their words faithfully reflected what they lived. This was true for Lincoln, Churchill, Mandela. So too must it be for you. Remember, the word is a seed. Don't expect to reap fruits of excellence if you sow words of doubt, complaint, or negativity. Every complaint, every destructive criticism, every self-insult slowly erodes your self-confidence and pushes success away. On the contrary, every compliment, every positive affirmation, every expression of faith strengthens the mental foundation necessary to triumph. Solomon also warns us, gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Look, words not only influence your mind but also your physical health, your disposition, your vitality. The person who speaks with confidence walks tall, breathes better, acts with more energy. The one who gives in to negative words, on the other hand, becomes ill, weak, and discouraged. In today's world, where words circulate rapidly through networks, where a misplaced phrase can generate disastrous repercussions, mastery of the word is even more urgent. Learn to measure, weigh, and choose each expression. Use your speech to build, inspire, strengthen, not to destroy, divide, or demotivate. And you, how have you used the power of your word? Have you been a creator or a destroyer of destinies? Have you built your path with expressions of faith, courage, and purpose, or have you fueled doubt, fear, and paralysis? Remember Solomon's warning, life and death are in the power of the tongue. Choose from today to speak life, speak power, speak future, speak victory. Thus your word will become not only a means of communication, but the driving force that will inexorably lead you to lasting success. 5. Persistence, the virtue that conquers the impossible. Solomon affirmed, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked are brought down by calamity. And I proclaim, persistence is the virtue that transforms failure into victory, obstacles into opportunities, and temporary defeat into a stepping stone for definitive success. Without persistence, no other principle has lasting value. With it, even the most adverse conditions can be overcome." In my research into great achievers, I realized that all, without exception, faced rejections, criticisms, setbacks, and failures. But the difference between them and others was not the absence of falls, but the unwavering presence of persistence. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before finding the correct formula for the electric light bulb. Henry Ford went bankrupt several times before consolidating his automobile industry. Andrew Carnegie himself, before accumulating his fortune, went through innumerable difficulties. What made them great was the same principle Solomon taught, getting up every time they fell. Persistence is not blind stubbornness, but unwavering conviction. It is the practical expression of faith in your defined purpose. The persistent person understands that every temporary defeat is not an end, but an instruction, feedback, an invitation to improvement. They know that failure only becomes permanent if they give up. As long as they persist, they remain undefeated. Solomon warned, "The craving of a sluggard kills him, for his hands refuse to work." All day long he craves for more, but the righteous give without holding back. Look, desiring is easy, but achieving requires persistence. Many dream of success, but few persevere in the necessary actions to reach it. The sluggard gives up at the first sign of difficulty. The diligent person insists, adapts, learns, and moves forward. In my philosophy, I establish persistence as one of the fundamental principles of success. It's not enough to have an ardent desire, a defined purpose, or even a well-structured plan. Without persistence, all of this crumbles in the face of the first obstacles. It is the cement that keeps the construction firm even under storms. In practice, how can you develop persistence? Firstly, by cultivating clarity of purpose. Someone who doesn't know exactly what they want won't have enough motivation to persist. A defined purpose acts as a compass that guides your actions even when the winds are against you. Secondly, by strengthening discipline, persistence and discipline are inseparable sisters. Persistence drives the continuity of action. Discipline ensures that it is carried out in an organized and consistent manner. The persistent person acts not only when they feel motivated, but even when there is no external stimulus, when everything seems to conspire against them. Thirdly, by learning to deal with rejection and criticism, Solomon affirmed, "A wise person accepts correction." The persistent person is not easily offended. They understand that criticism, when constructive, is a source of learning, and even when destructive, it serves as a test of their conviction. It is also fundamental to surround yourself with people who reinforce your persistence. In Think and Grow Rich, I emphasized the importance of the mastermind group, a circle of individuals who share a vision and values and encourage each other to keep going even in the face of adversity. Solomon also reminds us, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." Persistence is intimately linked to diligent work, to the willingness to do whatever is necessary for as long as it takes, until the goal is achieved. In current times, marked by the incessant search for quick and immediate results, persistence has become a rare but absolutely indispensable virtue. Many give up too soon, trading their dreams for momentary comfort. Don't fall into that trap. Remember, great achievements require time, effort, and above all, persistence. And you? Have you been persistent, or have you abandoned your projects at the first difficulties? Have you faced setbacks as endings or as instructions? Have you risen after every fall, or do you remain on the ground lamenting? Know this: every time you decide to rise, your strength increases, your confidence strengthens, your competence expands. Persistence not only brings you closer to success, it transforms you, making you more resilient, more prepared, and inevitably more victorious. Just as Solomon taught that the righteous always rise, I urge you, rise as many times as necessary. Do not give up. Persistence is the force that makes failure impossible. Now reflect. Do you want to be remembered as someone who tried but gave up, or as someone who persisted until they won? The choice is yours, and your choice will determine not only your destiny, but also the legacy you leave to the world. 6. Self-mastery, the greatest of all victories. Solomon taught, "Better a patient person than a warrior, and one who controls their spirit than one who takes a city." Thus, he revealed that self-mastery is the highest of all human victories. And I affirm with conviction, whoever does not govern themselves can never govern anything else. Self-mastery is the master key that unlocks all the doors to success. In all my research into the achievers of history, I identified that their superiority did not lie solely in intellect or resources, but primarily in the ability to govern their own impulses, emotions, and thoughts. The person who masters themselves is not a slave to circumstances, but their master. They choose how to react, define their path, and do not allow themselves to be swayed by external or internal pressures. Solomon understood that one who conquers themselves is greater than one who conquers a city, for conquering another can be done with force, but conquering oneself requires wisdom, patience, and self-awareness. The person who masters themselves does not easily succumb to anger, envy, fear, or laziness. They recognize these forces within themselves but do not submit to them. In my philosophy, I called this principle mastery of personality. It is the power to align thoughts, emotions, and actions with a defined purpose, preventing uncontrolled impulses from sabotaging one's progress. Many talented individuals fail because they cannot control their vices, their destructive tendencies, or their procrastination. Self-mastery is the fortress that protects a person from themselves. Solomon advises, "A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back." Here is one of the manifestations of self-mastery: the ability to restrain oneself, not to prematurely reveal intentions, to manage one's anxiety, and to maintain focus even under pressure. In practice, how can you develop self-mastery? First, by recognizing that it is not an innate gift, but a skill that is cultivated, just as an athlete trains daily to strengthen muscles. The person who seeks success trains their mind and emotions. Establish small daily challenges. Wake up at the scheduled time. Keep your word. Avoid impulsive responses. Second, practice continuous vigilance over your thoughts. Self-mastery begins in the mind. Solomon taught, "As he thinks in his heart, so is he." The person who harbors thoughts of failure, fear, or inferiority will inevitably manifest those states in their life. Therefore, be a guardian of your mind. Choose what to think, what to say, and most importantly, how to act. Third, develop emotional control. Emotions are powerful forces that, if poorly managed, can lead to ruin, but when mastered, they are formidable allies. Courage, passion, determination, all are emotions that, when controlled, propel a person to success. But anger, fear, and anxiety, when ungoverned, paralyze or destroy. Solomon also reminds us, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." The person who masters themselves chooses their responses. They do not react automatically to stimuli. They transform conflicts into opportunities for dialogue, insults into learning, and crises into growth. In today's world marked by impulsiveness, immediacy, and the relentless pursuit of instant gratification, self-mastery is a rare and valuable differentiator. Whoever can postpone rewards in favor of greater goals, whoever maintains serenity amidst chaos, whoever persists when everyone else gives up, inevitably gains positions of leadership and respect. And you? Have you governed yourself, or have you been governed by your emotions and impulses? Have you chosen your thoughts, or have you allowed them to flow chaotically, shaping your life without discernment? Have you stayed focused on what's important, or have you been distracted by what's urgent but irrelevant? Remember, without self-mastery, any victory will be fleeting, any conquest fragile. But with it, even the greatest challenges become surmountable, the greatest goals become possible, and success becomes inevitable. Just as Solomon exalted the value of governing one's own spirit, I urge you, become a master of yourself. This is the greatest of victories. From it, all others are born. Now, look within and answer, who is in command of your life? You or your impulses? You or your emotions? You or the unconscious habits that have kept you stuck? Decide from today to take the reins of your being. Become the conscious architect of your destiny, because whoever governs themselves does not fear to govern the world. 7. The fear of God, the beginning of all true wisdom, reverence for universal laws. Solomon taught, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." Thus he summarized in a single phrase the root of all true wisdom, and consequently, of all lasting success. And I affirm, the fear of God is not dread, but reverence. It is the profound recognition of the existence of higher, eternal, and unbreakable laws to which every person is subject, whether they like it or not. In my philosophy, I always emphasized that success is the result of obeying universal laws. No one can violate the laws of nature or life without reaping the inevitable consequences. Whoever ignores this reality lives in conflict, suffers constant defeats, and feels lost. Whoever recognizes and respects these laws, on the contrary, aligns themselves with a higher force that propels their life towards success. Solomon was not referring to fear as terror, but as the awareness of the divine order that governs all things. It is this awareness that prevents a person from acting impulsively, from being dominated by arrogance, from seeking crooked paths that seem easy but lead to destruction. I identified in all my research on success that the most accomplished individuals possessed a deep sense of reverence for immutable principles. Some called it God, others universal consciousness, others natural law. The name doesn't matter. What matters is the recognition that there is a higher force, an infinite intelligence that governs the universe, to which we must submit. Solomon warns, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. How many, by ignoring higher laws, take shortcuts that lead them away from true success? The fear of God, that is, reverence for the laws of life, protects a person from these deviations, keeping them on the path of integrity, justice, and full realization. In my work, I always highlighted the importance of acting in harmony with cosmic law. Whoever tries to get rich through deception, exploitation, or dishonesty, even if they achieve temporary victories, will inevitably reap failure, shame, and ruin. Legitimate and lasting success is only possible when founded on solid ethical and spiritual principles. In practice, the fear of God manifests itself in the conscious choice to live according to higher values, honesty, justice, compassion, diligence, responsibility. It's not about religiosity, but about practical spirituality that guides every decision, every action, every thought. Solomon also instructs us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. Here is another secret. Trust in a higher wisdom that transcends our limited human understanding. The person who fears God does not despair in uncertainties, for they know there is a greater purpose guiding events. This trust strengthens faith, not blind faith, but rational faith that drives action, sustains persistence, and nourishes hope even in times of adversity. The fear of God is therefore the foundation of resilience, courage, and serenity. In modern times, many reject this idea, preferring to believe they can create their own rules, that they are absolute masters of their destinies. But history is full of examples of people who, by defying higher laws, tragically collapsed, while those who lived in reverence for these laws built solid legacies, inspired generations, and achieved a peace that money could never buy. And you, have you recognized the existence of these higher laws? Have you lived in harmony with them? Or have you sought dangerous shortcuts, driven by the illusion that you can escape inevitable consequences? Remember, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Without it, all other virtues, discipline, prudence, persistence, self-mastery, become fragile, subject to collapse in the face of temptations or trials. With it, however, you build your life on an unbreakable rock. Therefore, I advise, cultivate reverence for the laws that govern life. Study them, understand them, submit to them. Do not fight against the natural order, align with it. Thus, your journey will be marked not only by material conquests, but by a full, integral success that includes inner peace, healthy relationships, and an honorable legacy. Just as Solomon concluded that all is vanity without the fear of God, I also affirm, true success is that which is achieved in harmony with the divine order, with eternal values, with a clear conscience. Now, reflect deeply. Have you lived according to your whims or according to higher principles? Are you willing to align your life with the laws that promote good, truth, and justice? If the answer is yes, know that you are on the right path. For whoever fears God fears nothing else, and whoever walks in his ways will never be shaken. We've reached the end of this transformative journey, in which I have guided you through the 7 fundamental pillars of Solomon's secret, revealing how they connect powerfully and practically with the philosophy of success I formulated over decades of study. First, we understood that wisdom is the invisible foundation of every grand construction. Then we explored the essential role of discipline, that silent force that sustains purpose. We moved on to prudence, the essential virtue that protects against self-sabotage. Next, we reflected on the power of the word, recognizing that words create or destroy. We also highlighted persistence as the force that transforms temporary failures into stepping stones for permanent success. Following that, we addressed self-mastery, the greatest of all victories. Finally, we revealed that the fear of God is the beginning of all true wisdom, a conscious reverence for the higher laws that govern life. These 7 pillars are not abstract concepts, but practical tools applicable to your life starting now. They are the essence of what Solomon recorded in Proverbs and also the core of the philosophy of success I shared with the world in works like Think and Grow Rich and Outwitting the Devil. Now, the responsibility is yours. You possess the complete map, the secure itinerary that connects ancient wisdom with modern strategies for personal and professional achievement. What will you do with this knowledge? Remember, wisdom without action is illusion. Discipline, prudence, well-directed words, persistence, self-mastery, and reverence for higher laws must be exercised daily until they become an integral part of your personality. Are you ready to become the conscious architect of your destiny? Are you willing to abandon old limiting habits and adopt a new pattern of excellence, guided by the eternal principles that guarantee true success? Just as Solomon declared, acquire wisdom, and with all your possessions, acquire understanding. I reinforce, understand these principles deeply. Apply them with courage, and you will experience a transformation so powerful that you will never be the same again. This is your call to greatness, the invitation to rise above mediocrity and walk towards the triumph you always desired but perhaps never knew exactly how to achieve. Now you know. Rise, act, persevere. Solomon's secret is unveiled. Success is within your reach. If this message spoke deeply to your heart, if Solomon's teachings interpreted through the lens of the philosophy of success brought clarity and inspiration to your journey, then I invite you to take one more step. Subscribe to the channel now, activate notifications so you don't miss any content like this, and join our community of tireless seekers of true success. Here you will always find powerful reflections, practical strategies, and timeless lessons that will propel your personal and professional evolution. Leave a like, comment below which of the 7 pillars most impacted your life, and share this video with someone else who needs to hear these transformative words. Spread wisdom, strengthen your network, and contribute so that more people discover that success is a science, a philosophy, and above all, a choice. And prepare. Many other videos will come, diving even deeper into Napoleon Hill's ideas, the secrets of success, and the strategies for you to confidently and purposefully achieve the extraordinary life you deserve. See you in the next one.